if you've really been single
Mm-hmm.
and you've experienced what it's like to be alone, and you've experienced what it's like to walk with God and not have somebody, and you want relationship, when you go through that process and you're growing,
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily easy.
Mm-hmm.
But then you value genuine relationship. You value genuine connection.
Mm.
And then you appreciate the person when they come
Mm-hmm.
because you're able to do so.
Yeah.
You're not operating out of trauma. You're not operating out of all your heartbreaks or whatever you've been through. You're actually willing to recognize her, in my case,
Yeah.
for who she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I began to recognize on the phone, you get to know somebody. You have a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
And you got to have a lot of conversations to get to know somebody
Yes,
prior
yes,
to
you do.
marriage.
Yeah.
And this is getting to your question, how to make the marriage work.
Yeah.
This stuff is important. Conversation is very important.
Yeah.
And when we were having conversations being long distance, we had to have a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
But I could begin to recognize, like Boaz was watching her and her character and what she's doing, I was listening and watching her values, her nature, her character, her just habits about her, her loyalty, her heart. I was picking up on all these things.
Mm.
And also, it's not about how you feel about the person, it's how they make you feel.
Mm-hmm.
So she made me feel safe, like you said about Leah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's
She
right.
made me feel empowered somehow, just our
Wow.
time with her,
Yeah.
association with her. It brought the best out of me
Mm.
without trying to bring the best out of me.
Mhm.
I was just myself.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything that was trying to impress her. And the funny thing is, the stuff she liked about me was who I actually was.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you like that? I'm like, really? I can do that all. That's who I am.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do you like this quality?
Yeah.
Really? And so those kind of conversations occur. And same things that she was just being herself. I'm like,
Yeah.
I love this about her. And she goes, what? You really love this about me? I absolutely adore this about you. You see, that kind of connection started building. So what does that do? As we get into the marriage, we're already building on genuine connection. That's important.
Yeah.
A marriage cannot survive emotional disconnection.
Mm-hmm. That's
We
good.
need to connect emotionally.
Mhm.
Our number one need as human beings is connection.
Mhm.
And so right from the time we're in our mother's womb, we're a byproduct of connection, by the way.
Yeah.
A spark occurs and you're connected to your mother through the umbilical cord. Your known connection as a child.
Mhm.
When you get born and you're hopefully nursed, that's connection again.
Mhm.
And so psychologists tell us that all challenges that we go through in life start in the first 7 years that are usually because of disconnection of some kind.
Mm.
Because we're designed to know connection. The child has to know the father's voice,
Yeah.
the tenderness of the father, the protective
Yes.
sense of the father,
Yeah.
that confidence and love of the father.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when babies are born in hospitals, they know this statistically, they come out when they're crying, when they hear the father's voice, they calm down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
that's
they've
right.
been hearing that voice while they were in the womb.
Yes.
And so connection is so important to us, not to mention our connection with the Father, our
Mhm.
connection with Jesus,
Yeah.
our connection with the Holy Spirit. So we all need and desire connection, but we don't always grow up in families
Mhm.
where we've experienced connection the way we ought to.
So can you elaborate on emotional connection? I think that's really important. And sometimes, that because in marriage, there's physical connection, there's emotional connection, and, being in the same space or whatnot. How would you describe healthy emotional connection?
Well, I would say that you have to understand as a man, so I'm going to speak to from a man's perspective and you can speak from yours, is I got to be willing to listen and understand my wife because I want to do all with her according to knowledge and understanding.
Yep.
And you have to be willing as a man to
Yep.
make time to listen to your wife and spend time with her.
Mm.
And, every woman's slightly different,
Mhm, mhm.
but she wants to talk about what's going on in her life. And as a man, you have to understand that what's happening in her life is very important to her.
Mhm.
And on an emotional level, it's actually her.
Mhm.
So if she's talking about how she feels about something, she might change direction a little bit and go everywhere.
Yeah.
And as men, we don't understand that concept.
Yeah.
And part of that is just the way God made our brains. Between our left and right brain, men just basically have one bridge, to go from one side to the next, and we
Yeah.
could have a traffic jam.
Yeah.
But women have this spaghetti junction in their brain where
Yeah.
everything is connected with everything. And that means emotion is going to be connected to it.
Yeah.
So women have this. And one of the things I was looking for was an emotionally intelligent woman. That was one of the things I was asking
Mhm,
for
mhm.
and I felt I needed.
Yeah.
She's extremely emotionally intelligent. And I've been so blessed by her
Yes.
that she'll communicate with me. So if
Mhm.
she's feeling something, she'll talk to me about it. I
Mhm.
love it. Like if a woman is willing to talk to you, this is great advice, women in marriage. You got to talk to us.
Yep.
We are a little bit dull, okay, as men.
Amen.
We need help.
We
and
do.
and we can't do this thing where we can figure out what you're feeling.
Yeah.
You need to communicate with us and know that if we could, we want to meet We want a happy wife.
Yeah.
We want to make you happy. We want to be part of the journey,
Yeah.
but we can't read your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So ladies, be willing to talk to your husband.
I
I
think
love
it
that.
does. I think it always does start with men for women though, because if a woman doesn't feel safe around the man, she's
That's
not going
good.
to open up. She's not
Yeah.
going to tell you how
Yeah.
she's feeling. She's going to keep
Mhm.
it to herself. And I think
Wow.
you, since day one, since the moment I met you, you always made me feel safe to share my opinions, to share my thoughts, even if they don't, even if you don't agree with me, you still made me feel you created that, safe environment for me
Mhm.
to be myself. And I always came to him with all of my honesty. I never had to
Mhm.
lie. I never had to manipulate him to do things because I just felt like I could be myself. I could just, pour my emotions out on him as honestly as I can.
Mhm.
And to be honest, that really works for us. I feel like that's probably the number one reason why we have such a healthy connection is because we're
Mhm.
honest with one another and we've created, um, this connection around our emotions where
Yeah.
you can come to me whenever you're
Yep.
feeling whatever and you can share with me your emotions and I could do the same to him.
Yeah.
But he did create, I would say that I wasn't always like that. I think he kind of trained my brain into being more open and thank you
Mhm.
for creating
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
And thank you,
for me.
sweetie.
Yeah.
Because in the early stages, I didn't know, right? Because that's the why the piece is so important, right?
Yeah.
As we're developing this connection, I got to know her heart and values.
Yeah.
And yes, she had some things, I mean, we all do, from
Yeah.
our past that perhaps would make us more careful or more cautious as
Yeah.
we get to know someone. That's understandable. But just kind of giving some grace and showing some patience a little bit
Yeah.
and just willing to understand her for who she is. There's no rules here, there's no judgment. And
Mhm.
just getting to understand that her opinion matters. See, when you're single,
Yep.
your opinion matters. But I learned when you get married, you got to make room for another person's opinion here,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
And so it's like, okay, how does she think about this? And then
Yeah.
she would share something about her thought process about,
Yeah.
even about, what do you mean a man can provide for a wife? I've never heard of that concept because she was coming out, you're self-made, you take care of
Yeah.
yourself, and she was doing very well, working for Merrill
Yeah.
Lynch, and a
Yeah.
really successful woman, and she all these things going on in her life, and
Mhm.
she didn't. But it was just conversation. So
Mhm.
I'm like, well, why do you think that?
It was a very foreign concept for me.
Yeah.